Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're here live at the farm doing our teacher training, but they're all in Cindy's Bhagavad Gita class. I don't think they're coming today. How are you, Kaustubha?
Doing good, Raghunath.
How
are you?
Kaustubha. Well, you like our new backdrop? We moved the desk around. I think it looks better.
I think it's much better.
Thank you.
Getting that big window right behind you was not...
It was not good. It was not good.
Good way to go. I like the distance. I like to have the distance.
I like the distance. I like the perspective, we call it here in the art world.
Space.
I love our Zoomers. I gotta say, I mean, I like everybody that listens to the podcast, but these Zoomers, man, they show up on a regular basis. It's just, I just find it impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive in Kali Yuga that anybody shows up to do the same thing every day. For anything, even doing the laundry.
Yeah.
Simple things. But to speak of a spiritual sadhana. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. We study the Srimad Bhagavatam every day. It's out of all the Vedic teachings.
Yeah.
It is. They say it's the cream of the crop because it really puts you in direct connection with divinity immediately. And I find a lot of our community, because we've known them now, they've been listening for a few years now. It's like they've been taking the Bhagavatam with them, so to speak, through all their ups and downs. And it's just the wisdom that comes from the Bhagavatam is like a strong, like a banister or like safety rope, a lifeline when you're just going through.
It's a crutch.
Well, it's a crutch, but crutch is usually like a pejorative. It's a put down. It just holds us steady when things are slipping. And I found that in my life for sure. And hearing the Bhagavatam, this Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, hearing the Bhagavatam every day is very, very powerful. That's our new subtitle. Wisdom of the Sages.
Yeah.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Every day.
Okay.
I got to work on that. You know what I like? Indian names. Indian names that sort of work in America. Like Indian names like Sheila. That's a very common Indian name. People are called Sheila. And in America, we're like, yeah, Sheila. What's up, Sheila? But we know what a Sheila is. A Sheila is like a sacred stone, you know?
Where's this coming from right now? Why are you going?
Oh, because I just said hello to Pooja. And I was thinking, I wonder what people think of that name, Pooja. I was like, how does that translate? And sometimes Indians, and I get it, and Asian people too, because the names are so foreign to American, they sometimes change it. And they'll say, my name is, sometimes I'll meet an Indian guy and they'll say, yeah, my name's Sam.
Yeah.
Huh?
Their name is Lakshmi, and then they go by Lucky.
Yeah, or their name is like, yeah, my name is Sam. Whenever I see an Indian who tells me their name is Sam, I put my hand on their shoulder. I go, no, it's not. What's your name? Tell me your real name. It's Shama Sundar, isn't it? And, oh, yes, it's Shamantak.
Yeah. I mean, it could be tough if no one can pronounce your name if it's real. Like Raghunath is not too too hard.
Raghunath's an easy one, but sometimes you get like Sankirtanaka Nipano, and then it's like what?
Yeah,
it's tough. Kostuba's easy, pretty. Do you get weird translations of that?
Well, nobody pronounces it absolutely correctly, including the devotees. You know.
Yeah.
But
My
it's a little hard for people to get sometimes. I have to say it 2 or 3 times to someone sometimes if it's new to them.
Well, my son goes by his name Rocco, but his legal name is Rake Krishna. So when they when they do the roll call, you get the legal names, and they're always like Rock. What? I'm not going to even do this. I'm going to just. It's always a little embarrassing for a kid.
So Rocco works.
Rocco, just call me Rocco. Anyway,
Rocky. Why not Rocky?
Rocky. Yeah, they say Rocky too. That's big in India. Rocky. That translates pretty well, actually. All righty, Mr. Kostuba. Enough of my scrolling around.
All right.
What announcement? Well, we have that, and I want to just make that announcement. Doing a retreat with Lori Pag. That's going to be great. And that is Mara. September 8th through 10th at the farm. Sign up on my Instagram, on my link tree. But also, we have Chant Camp coming up on Labor Day weekend. Gauravani was going to do it, but he couldn't do it. Now we have Dunya and Bali. They're married. Bali from the Mayapuris, and these guys can rock a party. A lot of you are familiar with Dunya. She's a regular on our show. And
we bring her in. She's a relationship counselor, and we bring her in with those tough questions that we can't answer. She's really good with.
She's very good with it. And Bali is like super talented, plays everything, singer, songer, kirtan master, he even raps. And Dunya's got an amazing voice. They're just like an amazing couple, amazing family.
Okay.
And we got a Bhakti Recovery retreat for all you Bhakti Recovery fans at the farm with me and Jiva.
All right.
Really looking forward to that too.
I think today we may finally, well, I guess it kind of depends on you, but at least I could put the information up, but hopefully you could get the registration up today for the wisdom training that we'll be doing in January at the Eco Village.
Yes.
About to release that stuff. I'm really excited about this course I'm doing. And what Doyle's doing, but going through that book, this Gaudiya Katahara, this collection of verses categorized in all these different subjects, but they're really great verses, for different reasons. It's all beautiful poetry, but they hit these points, and so we'll be able to go through these verses and summarize, the broad Bhakti Yoga teachings.
Now, it sounds great.
Yeah, but and my point is, but we can also speak about the sources of where those verses are coming from, the different sadhus, the different saints that spoke them, or the different books that they come from, and that I think will even more kind of fluff out, a person's broader understanding of this tradition.
So if you missed yesterday's class, when we go to India in January, because we're doing this wisdom training, and Kostuba's class will be studying this book of verses from Prabhupada's guru. Now, are they all going to get a copy of this book? Can you even get this book anymore?
I would probably
written on palm leaves?
I would recommend that they get a copy. You can get it online.
All right, we should put a link for that too.
Yeah,
they come with it. And all right, great.
Nice. All right,
my friend.
We start a new chapter today.
Ooh. What do you say we dive right in? I'm feeling a little. I'm truthfully I'm a little wiped out from having all these kids here. They're fun though.
Are they still
there? We've
there?
been having big kirtans, and these guys just play all day long. They're in the creek, in the pond. They're playing soccer. They're covering themselves with bentonite clay and playing soccer, diving back in the pond. That's it. Playing chess.
I bet
we're going to do a kids
seeing all
camp
that going on, though, don't you?
We're going to do a kids camp next year.
But it makes you happy. Well, I guess it does. That's why you're going to do it, right? I think it makes you happy.
Yeah, we're going to more than double the kids, like 20 kids.
Kids camp.
Yeah, it's going to have like a morning program, an evening program. We're going to do some bushcraft. We're going to do some jujitsu. I'm really looking forward to it. If you know a good 18-year-old kid, that's sort of interested in stuff like this.
All right.
Let me know.
Maybe a little tug of war.
Tug of war, pillow
That kind of
fighting.
thing.
Who knows?
All right.
All right. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. I've got an announcement for you, Kastuba.
What?
I don't even know if Parmananda knows about this, but we're doing 2 Revelation Records festivals, one in New York and one in LA, with Shelter and Youth of Today and a bunch of other bands in late March. I'm trying to figure this all out. And it's going to be the release of my book. It's going to be like a book release.
Oh, wow. That'll be when your book's
show.
Okay.
Parmananda is going to teach a yoga class. It's going to be like an event.
Wow.
Maybe you should come. We should do a wisdom. We're not sure yet, but that's the plan.
Okay. Where did you say? East Coast and West Coast?
East Coast and West Coast, like in New York and LA.
Sounds great.
And let's talk today, you and me, about you coming up here this weekend.
All right. We'll talk.
Okay.
So you ready to start a new chapter?
Yeah, studying the structure of the universe.
Yeah, we're not going to read this whole chapter.
Like this. Where do you find stuff like this? Studying the structure of the universe. Who makes those bold statements?
It's a bold statement, and we said going into this, we said that this whole canto, which we're starting to wrap up, we're getting towards the end of the 5th canto. The first had to do with following this lineage of kings down. We had Uttanapad and Dhruva, and it went down this list.
Yeah.
Of different characters, and it was all fascinating stuff with incredible lessons and teachings and so on. Then it switched over to understanding the universe. We got a whole description of the universe, and mostly that description has been done by Sukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Pariksit and kind of carrying him through a path, going to different places in the universe. But at each place, he's saying, here's who's a representative of the people in that area of the universe, and here's the prayers that they offered to Lord Vishnu. So we've gone through the higher planetary systems, and we came down to the Earth. Now it's going to kind of spread out and cover more of the universe, and then it's going to go down into the dark areas of the universe in the following chapters. But the point,
it's going to get good. That's a little teaser.
Well, I don't know what you want to call that good. It gets a little scary down there. but we said, months ago when we switched over from that coming down the lineages to traveling around the universe, that there'd be areas that we kind of just summarize or skip over because they're full of lots of measurements and lots of long names of different places, and it can, for our purpose, I'm not saying it doesn't have a purpose, it has a purpose, but for our purpose as a daily podcast, it could get a bit tedious.
Well, the interesting thing, Kostuba, is if this stuff wasn't all real, they wouldn't go into all this like little refined details, but there are minds that want to know these things. There are like Vedic scientists. This is like a real thing. They do just what the chapter says. They study the structure of the universe, but it's done through somehow a different lens. And when the Vedic scientists that you and I have met, they were like, they can explain it all as if they're giving a class on engineering or something. We sit back and our jaws are dropped, but they get it and they talk like this, and their minds are capable of understanding. And I'm just like, can we go on to the story, please, where Krishna kills a demon?
There's something I wanted to read for you, and I had it out. Oh, okay, I got it back.
Right.
Okay, so what we're gonna do in this chapter is, I think 7 times in this chapter, it stops at a different place in the universe, and again we hear one prayer. And in this time, in this chapter, each prayer is from the residents of a particular area, praying to the demigod of a particular element of the universe: the sun, the moon, the water, the air, etc., like that. And it's expressed how, and what the Bhagavatam is showing us is that across the universe, people worship these devas with the conception that this deva is a representative, or in a sense an extension of Vishnu, who's the origin of everything. So that's what's being illustrated. But all of these details come out, which, like, they're, as you're saying, they're important for people. Like, for instance, right now we have to announce this hopefully within the next week or so too, but you and I we're gonna take a group of people to Mayapur.
Oh yeah.
And this is the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya in West Bengal. And
it's a limited group. It's a limited group, and it's a select group of people who have already they get this, they're into this. Not like they're new to this. Yeah. People have sort of like been into it, been listened to at least like 100 episodes.
Okay. And so
no, it's important. It's important. Because once you're in Mayapur, you gotta, your head's got to be there. You can't.
We all got to be in the same page together.
Yeah, on the same page.
And so there's a massive temple. It may be the biggest dome in the world. It's currently, the temple is like largely built, but it's not functioning yet as a temple. That'll come soon. Yeah. But it's called the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. So
when's it going to be done? I thought it was done in 2024. That's when we're going to go there.
Slow down.
What do you think?
It's not easy to finish it. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be done.
Yeah.
But my point being is that there they have a planetarium which is drawing from this Vedic, from this Bhagavatam's presentation of cosmology. And the point here is, we're not necessarily, some people are interested as scientists, as what do you call it?
Cosmologists. Cosmologists.
Something like that.
Cosmopolitans, I think it's called.
Cosmopolitan, cosmeticians. We're just going to call them cosmos.
I went to school for cosmetology, and now all I can do is like people's nails and pedicures. I can't figure it out.
So there are people that have specific interests, but for the general masses, the importance of this is because what the Bhagavatam is showing is, throughout the cosmology, we can understand how people understand the divine on different levels, and how that's represented in the universe, and how we're meant to kind of ascending not just in terms of like geographically, but how even geographically it's mapped out, the ascension from selfishness to completely pure selfless love. That's kind of illustrated in the cosmology. It's not just something that we're meant to get as ideas out of these books, but even that is shown in the cosmology of the universe. And so they want to put that in this massive temple and draw
unbelievable.
It's an amazing idea.
It's a massive task to figure out how to present that, but it's really cool. It's like they're putting God back in science,
Yeah, right.
And how many times did I go to whatever aquariums, planetariums, museums when I was a kid? But imagine if above it all, like, you're going to go to the aquarium, but you're going to understand how everything's ultimately coming from God, or it's all a spiritual experience, not in a weird way. Like some religion think it'd be weird, but in the way, it's in the most zoomed out way. Just like we study nature and we study trees and plants and leaves and earth and soil and animals, but we don't do it in reference to the bigger picture of these are all coming from somewhere else. Yeah. We are taking a piece, like taking a carburetor out of a car and trying to study that, but missing its context with the entire engine.
Oh. Okay, the carburetor,
right?
Okay,
little automotive analogies, sir.
Nice.
I thought that was good.
So, yeah. So You see that temple has 3 domes. It has the massive dome in the center, which is where the main temple deities are being worshipped. Then it has the dome, if you're facing it to the right of that, where the temple of Lord Nrsingadev will be. Then the left dome is going to be a planetarium. So, like projected on the screen will be all kinds of information about on all different levels, all different kind of presentations, but including these presentations of Vedic cosmology. But in that fascinating things in that massive dome, and I was there, earlier this year, and spending quite a bit of time.
You were there this year?
Yeah, I was there.
I was there like 3 years ago, and they gave us a tour as they were building it. It was so cool. Were you there? Yeah. Mara was there.
Yeah. So inside Mara. When you walk in and you enter the area that will be the temple, which is massive, and then it ascends super high with this incredibly huge dome, like huge dome, really high up in the air, that, and then there's balconies that surround that, round balconies that surround it going all the way up. So you can go, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people can be on those different, come to those different platforms and view it.
From different vantage points, yeah.
And going right up the middle of that, up to the top of the dome, is going to be a massive mobile. Do you say mobile or mobile?
Mobile. That's Alabama.
Mobile.
What
do you, Mara?
Mobile. Private school.
In other words, the hanging
diorama.
Hanging diorama. That's going to show all these different levels, from the material realms, the lower planets, up to the higher planets. And this is the realm of karma, where people work to get results, to try to enjoy the things of this world. And then you ascend higher and higher and higher until you finally get to Radha and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan at the top, where the motive is entirely pure love. And you'll be able to go up those different levels and view that massive mobile. And, and you can imagine that people can.
What's it like at the top?
Tour guides will be able to explain all this, and there's this massive
tour guide should have costumes for each level. Wouldn't that be cool? The tour guide should have costumes.
Oh, they should do level. It like hello, I'm Lord Brahma, and
and they got
let me show you my
rubber heads on their shoulders.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Welcome to Brahma Loka. It's quite fun here. But all the beings have multiple arms.
But one thing I wanted to share is, as you read this, as anyone reads it, a scientist like our old friend who passed away, Sadaputta, who was like a brilliant scientist, mathematician, and what was his specialty? I forget.
Cosmology, UFO study. Serious. He sat me down once and explained his book to me, and I was just like, twiddling my thumbs. And he spoke to me as if I was understanding everything he was saying, but I just nodded and smiled, but my brain could not. He had to put it in very low gear just to communicate with me.
He was like the guest you had on last week, Pradyumna Prabhu. Pradyumna is like a brilliant mind like that in the terms of these sacred texts of Shastra. He was a brilliant mind like that, examining these texts in terms of how they relate to science.
Yeah,
and And so he would take a chapter like this that is saying the most far out wild stuff you've ever seen. That in this area of the universe, there's an ocean of salt water. In this area of the universe, there's an ocean of milk.
And he'd say it with such explanations that you're like, yeah, an ocean of milk. Of course there's an ocean of milk.
But here's what I want to share too. It's like control, Raghunath, control. But I wanted to share this. God. This is what, and we're going to skip over a lot of that stuff, and we're just going to get to these.
We got to pull out some. You got to give the people some crazy oceans. There's crazy oceans out there, people.
But
the sugarcane ocean.
Here's.
I'm wondering if they're an algae.
I want to explain something
to you. Sweet water, or is it actually sugarcane juice?
Well, that's my point. I want to share something with you. Slow down. Just calm down. Take a deep breath.
Because I could understand.
Take a deep breath.
I could understand sweet water. But is it actually sugarcane juice? Who pressed them? Who pressed the sugarcane?
Slow down. Jeez, my God.
You gotta talk about these things, man.
Well, that's exactly what I want to do, is talk about it. And I want to share this, that what's important for us when we read the Bhagavatam and we read these chapters is it's trying to put pure devotion in a particular context, from many different contexts and from many different angles, including a cosmological angle. And so when we read this, really when we come out and we finish the chapter, some minds may be saying, how can this be true, that there is an ocean like this and that there's this whole cosmology? How to make sense of it? How does it make sense in terms of modern scientific discovery? Can it make sense? And that's the kind of work that people like Sariputta would do. But in general, it's not a book meant for understanding cosmology or meant for understanding astrology or meant for understanding any of these it's really meant for understanding pure devotion. Pure bhakti yoga is what we're meant to get from it. So therefore, these prayers are dropped into it in a particular context. But that being said, when we read far out stuff, like there's an ocean of milk, or there's massive mangoes on this planet that they drop and the juice, spreads and it turns into gold. There's all kind of far things. But I just wanted to share this with you. And I'm not saying how literally or figuratively these things should be understood. Sometimes we hear from one of our acharyas speaking on a topic like this. They explain it in a way like, oh, that's much easier to wrap my head around. Now, I'm going to read you something from Shankara, okay? Who's an incredibly important figure in Vedanta, and who we certainly have some theological and philosophical differences with, but most of what he teaches we accept, right? Like, most of what he has to say is harmonious with the Bhakti Vedanta, his Advaita Vedanta.
He was one of the famous child wunderkinds.
He was a wunderkind.
He was a child saint.
Yeah, at 8 years
and master, and established temples all over India when he was a child.
Yes,
very fascinating life story.
It is. Now
what's he going to say?
He wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and in the commentary, I'm going to read you a bit from the commentary of Bhagavad Gita 7:4, 7th chapter, 4th verse.
Okay.
Which is, the verse.
Bhumirapona lava yuman kamano buddhir evacha.
Ahankara.
Ityame bina pakritir ashtadha.
Yeah, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These comprise my 8 separated material energies, O Arjuna.
Comprised.
Yeah. So that's a verse that's talking about different elements that make up the universe. Now, we read in texts like Bhagavatam, so that it says that this universe is covered by different layers of each one of these elements, like a big, massive gobstopper. Right. So what does that mean?
I liked how you just rolled that off without even missing a beat, like a big giant gobstopper. Everyone in Europe is going, what the heck is it?
Say Europeans don't know. They may know gobstopper. Do Europeans know gobstopper? Let us know, people. Gobstoppers, we've spoken about it on the show before, but that's like, it's like a ball of candy that you would suck on, and it's just shells of sugary stuff, and as you go deeper, changes color as you get to the different layers.
Was ist das Gobstopper?
Was ist es?
Was ist this? Schön.
So again, these books tell us, like, okay, there's a layer of earth, there's a layer of water, there's a layer of ego, there's a layer of intelligence.
That's an amazing thing. Just like there's layers of fire, there's a layer. And the biggest layer, it's the biggest layer the soul has to leave. We have to leave the material universe. We have to go through all these elements. And the last one, and they get progressively bigger.
Yeah.
And the last one.
Raspberry.
Amazing.
So this is what Shankar writes. And when I read it, I said, oh, something clicked in my head. Like, I always say, I don't know what it means. There's certain things that I read. The vast majority of what I read from Bhagavatam and from Bhagavad Gita, I'm like, it makes perfect sense. I can apply in my life. And there's certain things where I just have to say, I don't know what that means. What does it mean that there's a layer of false ego that surrounds the universe? like a
Yeah, I
gobstopper.
don't know what that means, but whatever. I could just go like, okay, there is.
Yeah. I accept that there's stuff that I can't wrap my head around, or that I'm uninformed about, or
Or
that
that
this
I'll
is
never
informing
be
me
able to
about.
wrap my head around because I'm like a little moth and I
Yeah,
can't
or that
understand
this,
anything.
or that I'm being informed about, but it's leaving it a little cryptic. It's leaving it a little bit mysterious. It's hard to understand. But this is what Shankar wrote, and it clicked in my head. Oh, okay. So he says this in the commentary to text 7.4 of the Bhagavad Gita, speaking about ahankara, false ego. He said this. He says this. He said by ahankara or egoism in this verse, when it mentions the ego, he says it is meant the unmanifest associated with cosmic ignorance. So he's saying that there's just like when he says the unmanifest, the way that I understand it is like you have a batter for a cake and then you bake it and it turns into a cake. So the ingredients are there in both forms, but one is unmanifest cake and one is manifest cake. Right? So when he says when he's talking about the unmanifest, he's saying the ingredients of the universe that haven't manifested into a particular form. That's how I understand it. So by ahankara or egoism is meant the unmanifest associated with ignorance. And then he says this, here's an analogy. This is a good one right now. As food mixed with poison is called poison, similarly, the unmanifest, which is the primordial cause, is called egoism, since it is imbued with the impressions resulting from egoism. And egoism is the impelling force of everything that's happening in this universe. So did you catch it?
It's a little too early in the morning for me to understand that. Right. Try me at 8:30. I think
but just this part. As food mixed with poison is called poison. Got that. So someone puts a little bit of
poison in a cake.
Yeah, you're like, hey, let's say you got a bowl of oatmeal and someone puts some poison in it, and then someone puts a bowl of that in front of you. You say, "Don't eat that. That's poison." No,
right.
It's oatmeal with poison in it.
Yeah. Okay, I got that. That I get. Okay, it's 6:40, and I understand that.
So when we say that there's the way that I understand this is that when we say that there's a layer of false ego around the universe, it's not like some chunk that you break through that's made out of pure false ego, but it's what Shankar is saying is that it means that this layer of surrounding the universe is imbued with elements of this force that compels us to identify with the body. It's not saying that it's like you can crack it, but it's saying it's existing in that layer. That false ego is existing in that layer, not that it's made 100% of false ego. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
For me, that it makes it much easier. Even much that's still incredibly subtle and but it's not like there's just this thick layer of pure false ego. No, it's an area that is kind of imbued with a certain type of force, just like there's electricity, or just like there's a force that plays a role that in moving the universe, and that has to do with it. This universe would not work if we didn't identify with our bodies.
Prabhu, can I share with you a transcendental realization I had one day at Trader Joe's? I'm serious.
If it has anything to do with this, yes.
It does, in a sense. Okay. It does. Seeing you try to figure this thing out, wrestling with the Bhagavatam, I remember this. I was at Trader Joe's as a young man, and I was buying a bag of cashews.
Okay.
And in that bag of cashews,
you were talking about this the other day. There was a moth.
There was a moth in the bag, in the sealed bag. Not like the bag was open and a moth got in. Means it was born into cashews. Like there was some egg, some type of moth larvae in that bag of cashews that had hatched in the transportation of the cashews from the Trader Joe's main center. And now it's in my local store.
Okay.
And it's fluttering around. Moth.
It was alive in there?
It was live fluttering.
I released it.
What the heck? I thought they captured it or something.
That was its universe.
It must have grown from that. That is that little moth's universe. Let me ask you something. How the hell can that moth know what a sugar maple tree is?
Doesn't know.
They don't. They live in a universe with coverings, with other. They don't know anything. That's us trying to figure out and speculate about the ocean of sugarcane juice.
Yeah.
I'm like that mob. Well, maybe it's sweet water. Maybe it's actually sugarcane. I don't know. We can just get these clues.
Yeah, just get some clues. Gradually, things will start to click more and more, and we'll really know what we're talking about. But it's okay if we can't figure everything out. It's okay that things crystallize gradually as we move forward on this path, you know.
And it's okay that you might never know, and that's okay.
All right.
I know I know a lot of these basic things really work. I know that, and I keep moving forward.
Okay.
You know, I think when you're a teenager, also, you're sort of tinged with a lot of desires because you got lots of hopes and lots of dreams, lots of plans. As you settle into our stage of life, the north of 50, things become a little bit more realistic. You're less impressed by the material world. Do you feel that? Or were you always Mr. Wall? Right? It's just like, I think it just goes with age. You're like, nah, no. Just less impressed. We're like a little more.
Some younger person was asking me about something recently, and I forget who it was and what it was, but I remember my answer is just like, you know what, when you get older, you begin to realize you just can't control these things. You just have to accept them as they are, you know, and it's you kind of get there, you know.
Right. Especially if we're adding the cultivation of knowledge throughout their life. I find this as a whole new generation of people getting into bhakti, Kastuba, is people like their 40s and the 50s.
It's going to break.
I'm looking over here at Jai Yoga Brooklyn. You know, Ramit and Carla Cromag are here live today. How old are you guys? 40s? Oh, Ramit. Oh, all right. They're my age. I thought they were younger. All right. Let's go on, Prabhu.
So okay.
That was a good introduction to this chapter.
Okay, it's something, right?
Right.
So studying the structure of the universe. This is chapter 20 of Canto 5 of the.
Wait a second. There's an ocean of ghee also. An ocean of ghee. I'm reading this right now.
Yeah. So let that go for now.
Why don't they just explain it? Why don't they just say, okay, listen, we're going to give you a little backstory about the ghee, how it got here.
Because
there's a giant, you know, but
because you decided you didn't want that information. You wanted illusion, and now you're gonna have to be eager.
You're making me
it.
Take responsibility.
You're gonna have to be eager.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You're making me take responsibility, like the criminal who blames the warden. Okay. Why is that stupid warden putting me in jail?
Why do they build it this way?
Warden? No, Raghu, you put yourself in jail. Take responsibility. Thank you, Kastuba.
So we're gonna jump forward. Mountains are being laid out, and islands are being spoken about. The long list of names of these places are being given, and then we get to a place called Plakshadweep.
Plakshadweep,
where the inhabitants, they live for 1,000 years there. They're beautiful like the demigods, and they also beget children like demigods. By completely performing the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, and by worshiping the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of the Godhead as represented by the Sun God, they attain the sun, which is a heavenly planet. Okay.
Attain the sun means they go to the sun, they live in the sun?
It sounds like it. They live there somehow. So
I remember when I first heard that.
Like, it's really hot
People
there.
live on the sun. I was like, what? It's true. It's true.
Okay,
of course it's true.
I'll just slow down. So let's not worry
couldn't
about.
You live in the sun?
If you have a body suitable for it, you could.
What if you had a body of fire?
Just like we can't live in the water, but you need a body suitable for it.
Right. Now it's such a simple idea. If you got a fire body, you can live in the sun. You can walk into the fire. It's normal.
Okay.
If you got my body, you can't live in the sun.
That's right.
Right. You can't even go to the equator without suffering.
Yeah.
Fire body.
So now we're going to hear, Raghunath, the prayers of the residents of Plakshadweepa as they worship the god of the sun, Surya, with the conception that Surya is the representative of Lord Vishnu, the origin of everything.
Very interesting.
Text number 5. We can read verse and commentary.
We skipped a lot of these oceans.
there's a lot of names there, right? It's just
A lot of
lots and
names, a lot of
yeah.
interesting oceans. We're going right
I'm just
over
trying
that.
to pull out the essence here so we don't get too bogged down.
I wasn't going to get bogged down by the D ocean.
Would you,
okay.
would you like to read this translation?
Text 5.
Yeah.
This is the mantra by which the inhabitants of Plaksha Dweep worship the Supreme Lord. Let us take shelter of the sun god, who is a reflection of Lord Vishnu, the all-expanding supreme personality of Godhead, the oldest of all persons. Vishnu is the only worshipable Lord. He is the Vedas. He is Dharma, or religion, and he is the origin of all auspicious and inauspicious results.
Okay. Interesting, right? This is their conception that the sun is very important to us. They have a particular connection to Surya, the god of the sun. But they see Surya as here they say the reflection. Or what is a reflection? It's a representation of one thing, right? So
that was very good.
Yeah. So they see the god of the sun as a representative, a representation of Vishnu, and then they speak of Lord Vishnu by saying he is the oldest of all persons, right? He's the one that goes back before the beginning of the universe. He is ultimately the only. It says, what was it? Vishnu is the only worshipable Lord. It all goes back to him. When you worship Surya, it's a way of worshiping Vishnu. If you don't conceive of it that way, Bhagavatam's trying to show us, yeah, we spoke about all the devas. We talked about worshiping the god of the sun. We talked about worshiping all these devas back in the Vedas. But now Vyasadeva is clarifying that the true conception of that is where you're not doing it to get the things of this world, is where you're doing it recognizing that that's the prayer to Lord, that they're a representative of Vishnu. And so again, we spoke about an ambassador yesterday. If when an ambassador from one country goes to another country, they show that person all kinds of respect and etiquette, because they know by how we treat this ambassador is seen as how we're treating the president of that country or the people so these people recognize how we worship the god of the sun is indicative of our devotion to Lord Vishnu. And then it says that he is Dharma. He's the Vedas, right? All the Vedas are meant for understanding him. All the Vedas come from him. He is Dharma. And he is the origin of all. This is real significant. He is the origin of all auspicious and inauspicious results. It's not that I'm the origin of the results in my life. I'm connected to it, but he's the one that is empowered to provide them, right? To provide what our auspicious, our good karma and our bad karma. We initiate it in the sense that we choose the actions that will bring the karma, but he's the one that actually sends it, right? He's the one that can move this world in such a way that we experience auspicious or inauspicious results.
And he has the administrators of the material realm,
dole it out,
met them out for everybody, but it's ultimately he's the source of all.
That's right.
He is the cause of all causes.
And so in this commentary, Prabhupada is going to go to the great commentator Madhvacharya, and then he's going to go to the Upanishads, quotes from the Upanishads to help us understand this better. But why don't we read this, Rana, see how much we can cover today?
The commentary of 5?
Yes.
All righty. Lord Vishnu is even the supreme Lord of death. Okay. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, there are two kinds of activities, auspicious and inauspicious, and both are controlled by Lord Vishnu. It's nice when they just break it down like that. There's two activities in this world. What are you doing today? What's knitting? I think knitting's probably auspicious, right?
I don't see anything inauspicious there. I mean, that's the action, and then the auspicious result is the scarf itself, or the pleasure of the person that receives the scarf, or the satisfaction that Mara feels in giving the scarf, or selling the scarf.
Selling. There are two okay, and both are controlled by Lord Vishnu. Inauspicious activities are said to be behind Lord Vishnu, whereas auspicious activities stand before him. The auspicious and inauspicious exist throughout the entire world, and Lord Vishnu is the controller of them both.
In this regard,
Srila Madhvacharya says, we'll skip the Sanskrit.
It's
there
not
are
so hard.
many
You can
lands.
do it.
You want me to, I'll do it.
You do it.
Surya Samagni Varisha Vid Ritsu Yata Kraman Plaksadi Dweep Samasta Su Stitam Harim Upasate. There are many lands, fields, mountains, and oceans throughout the creation, and everywhere the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by his different names.
Okay.
Srila Viragava Acharya explains in this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. So he's quoting another previous master's commentary.
Viragava Acharya. I think it's a familiar name. He's a Bhagavatam commentator. I'm wondering if his samadhi is in the Radha Damodar temple, and somehow I'm thinking it is.
You know, it's interesting that, nowadays they're creating these online platforms. Oh yeah, we were just talking to the devotee when we were in Austria.
I got it up and going.
You got it up and going?
Oh, actually, we shouldn't even be talking about that.
Oh, secret?
Yeah, it's a little bit secret.
I won't say anything. Forget what I just was about to say. Okay. But anyway, I'm just thinking Prabhupada with a bunch of books open up on his desk. And he's got like this old-fashioned typewriter trying to put this together. Unbelievable.
Yeah. He had a big book that had like quite a few Bhagavatam commentaries in it.
Yeah.
Pradyumna would know that book. Okay.
He is the enjoyer of all auspicious activities and is the cause of conditioned life and also liberation.
I think you got to go. Just start again from Sri Viragava.
Srila Viragava Acharya explains in this verse as follows. The original cause of the cosmic manifestation must be the oldest person and must therefore be beyond transformations, material transformations. Mm-hmm. He is the enjoyer of all.
He's the one that's creating material transformations. He's behind it all.
Okay, he is the enjoyer of all auspicious activities and is the cause of conditioned life and also liberation. The demigod Surya, who is categorized as a very powerful jiva or living being, is a representation of one of the parts of his body.
Okay.
We are naturally
so jiva means that the demigod means, it says the demigod Surya, who is categorized as a very powerful jiva. That means he's like one of us. He goes through all different bodies in all different ways and all different circumstances. And when he comes to the role of Surya, that's a post, right? That's a position that he takes, and that you or I may have played at one point in our life. So he's a jiva in that sense. He's not God himself. Okay.
We are naturally subordinate to powerful living entities, and therefore we can worship the various demigods as living beings who are powerful representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
We need them. We have to be grateful.
We're subordinate to anybody,
but we're totally subordinate.
We're totally subordinate.
The sun just started shining on you.
Yeah, I saw that. Mary, you see that? The sun's going right on my face. It looks like there's a half moon on my face. Can you pull that, please?
But we're offer your respects to the sun.
Offer my. We were just talking about the sun.
That's not. Duh. That's why I brought it up.
Demigod Surya was pleased with me, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think. Okay.
We naturally become subordinate. Although the worship of the sun god is recommended in this mantra, he is worshipped not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as his powerful representative.
Okay.
Oh, and this is a verse from the Katha Upanishad. I'm going to skip the Sanskrit. Oh, Nachiketa, the expansion of Lord Vishnu as the tiny living entity and as the supersoul are both situated within the cave of the heart of this body.
Okay.
Having entered the cavity, the living entity resting on the chief of the life airs enjoys the results of activities, and the supersoul, acting as a witness, enables him to enjoy them.
And that's the whole point that's being made here, right? In other words, it's saying that within the body of every living being like us, there's us, a little spark of spiritual energy, a little jiva, and there's also the Paramatma, Lord Vishnu. And
they
we're
both reside
resting
in the little cave.
and we're
like that.
floating in the little cave within the body, resting on the prana, like on the airs that keep us afloat there. And by the regulation of the Paramatma, it says they enjoy the results of activities, and the supersoul acting as a witness enables him to enjoy them. So the Paramatma is kind of regulating our experience, both auspicious and inauspicious, according to how we've acted previously. Those who are
well-versed in knowledge of
Brahman,
and those householders who carefully knowledge of Brahman, and those householders who carefully follow the Vedic regulations say that the difference between the two is like the difference between the shadow and the sun.
Okay.
So, in the Svetasvatara,
let's slow down. Let's slow down. Why don't we pick up here tomorrow? This is interesting stuff. Okay. We'll pick up right here tomorrow because we're out of time.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're out of time.
Yeah, it's already 6:59, man. Oh,
whoa, wait, what happened to takeaways, Mara?
Hold it there, Miss Mara. What's our takeaways today? Give us some little goodies for our goodie basket.
Oh. Bhagavatam holds us steady through life's up and downs.
Okay.
It does.
There's a subtle layer imbued with false ego surrounding the universe.
Yep.
This is true.
Yes, there is.
We're moths in a bag of cashews.
Oh, that could have been
that
could have been the last one.
It's okay if we can't figure everything out.
You better top that moths with a bag of cashews thing. Okay.
You can live on the sun with a fire body.
Okay.
That's a pretty good last one, too. You can live on the sun.
We choose our actions and Vishnu sends our karma.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I gotta get ready.
Come on, Mary.
Hey, we're born to cashews from Louisville.
Who pressed the ocean of sugarcane juice?
Who?
Pressed the ocean. Who did it? Who
takeaway question. It's rare that the takeaway is a question.
Yeah, that's the first time. Who made the ghee? Who made the ghee, people? Thanks, everybody, for joining us here today. I want to thank Ramit Pandit and Carla Cromag for being here live. We even got the pious golfer around here somewhere, too. Oh, everybody, we did it again. Another day of the Bhagavatam. Thank God for the Bhagavatam.